Hey there, chatters. I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to The Crime Chat. I am your forensic femme fatale. Natalie is your true crime addict connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls obsessed with dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
And here's your disclaimer, chatters. The following crime chat does contain adult content and will contain violent scenarios. So your listener discretion is advised.
You've been warned. And before we get into today's crime chat, Kat, what have you done?
So in the midst of, between classes that I'm teaching, the classes that I'm taking, I haven't had a whole lot of time. However, I finally finished Delicate from the American Horror Story. And there was the last 2 episodes I needed to see.
Right.
Insane. Crazy. Did you ever watch that?
I was waiting for you to finish it so you can give me like the if it's worth watching.
I think it's fantastic.
I
think it's my kind of outside of the box thinking.
Okay.
It's great.
I'll check it out.
Kim Kardashian actually is really, really good. I thought she was great.
She's stunning.
I thought she was great.
She is one of the great beauties of our time.
Yes.
Her looks came from her mother.
There's a song about that.
Oh, there is?
I got it from my mama. I got it from my mama. Have you never heard that? It was like an 80s, 90s. I got it from my mama.
Don't know that one.
So we've been still watching like How I Met Your Mother, kind of like in between when we just need something on.
Right.
But we watched a movie last night called The Family Plan. It's on Apple TV.
Okay.
Apple Plus.
Okay.
And it's Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Monaghan.
I don't know who she is.
You would recognize her when you saw her.
Okay.
Like when you see her, you'll totally recognize her.
Okay.
It was a cute family film, but had a lot of action in it. And basically, Mark Wahlberg plays the protagonist in this movie, and he's just like a regular car salesman. He's got 3 kids, and
is it a drama?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It's like a comedy action.
Okay.
But all the while, he has a whole other life before he met his wife and had kids.
Right.
Where he was an assassin.
Oh.
But he left the family business and has changed his name. He's been like on the down low ever since and everything. It was a really cute, like, a couple times actually had me literally like LOLing, and I was like, oh, that's sweet.
You're giving me True Lies vibes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very close. Yeah. But no, it was really cute. So, I mean, that's pretty much it, other than like finally being able to enjoy the pool in the summertime.
Yeah.
The last, it's been so hot, sweltering across the whole country. So crazy. But that's pretty much it. What about you?
So I started binge watching 90 Day Fiancé.
Oh, God.
There is a special type of person that goes on these shows. I don't know if they do it for the money. Like, I don't think they're all
Yes,
in
they
love.
100% do it for the money.
You think for the show, right?
They do it for the drama. It's all
do it for the
drama.
drama.
It's like, okay, Kat's perspective. They act out in the way that they act out because they know, one, it's going to be drawing viewers.
Right.
The conflict is going to be like, oh my God, did you see what so-and-so did? Whatever. Yeah, totally. Not that I'm not saying discounting the fact that maybe some days, like, some of them fall in love or, anything like that. I'm, like, not discounting that.
Right.
Because that's always a possibility. But it's all for entertainment.
Yeah. And then, Kat, so it seems that the Sharks are excited about Shark Week, too, because,
oh my gosh.
there are shark attacks everywhere. I don't know.
I know. I saw the 3 in Texas, San Padre Island, and there was another one in Florida.
Yeah.
And chatters, just so you know, we are recording this before Shark Week, and we are also recording this before our live, which you would have already listened to.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Good job on our live.
Yeah.
Woohoo! And in celebration of Shark Week, my story next time is going to be the shark arm case.
I can't wait.
The shark arm case. So it was a tiger shark where there was an arm found in it after he was caught. And it goes back to it was like the 20s or 30s, something like that. But
wow.
Yeah, crazy.
I can't wait.
So to jump into your case for today, I wanted to go over a couple of cases that might have been solved through DNA because we're kind of continuing. We mentioned this before.
Right.
The JD, John Douglas.
Yes, our dreamboat.
Yes. And some of the cases that he did, you mentioned you got the BTK book, so you're doing a story on BTK. I wanted to talk about a few cases that have been solved through DNA, like the BTK.
Okay.
But these are some stories that you might not be as familiar with. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. The murder of George and Catherine Peacock, 1989 in Vermont. After a cold case of 33 years, the mystery surrounding of the 1989 murders of George and Catherine Peacock of Danby, Vermont, had finally been cracked. The couple, aged 76 and 73 at the time, had been stabbed to death in their home with no signs of forced entry. Michael Louise, the Peacock son-in-law, was identified as a suspect a few weeks later, but he remained free due to an absence of hard evidence against them. Nearly 2 decades later, May of 2022, a cold case unit from Vermont finally got its break when a new forensic test on blood sample found that Michael Louise's car was linked back by blood evidence to George Peacock. In 2022, police arrested Michael Louise for double homicide, and justice for the Peacocks was served posthumously. The second one, the murders and sexual assault of Lloyd Dwayne Bogle and Patricia Kalitsky, 1956 in Montana. So in 1956, 3 boys discovered the body of 18-year-old Lloyd Dwayne Bogle near his car with a gunshot wound to the head, and the victim's hands were tied behind his back. The following day, a country road worker uncovered 16-year-old Patricia Kalitsky's body north of Great Falls. She was shot and sexually assaulted. These killings remained unsolved until 2021, June 2021, when investigators announced that they had used DNA evidence, forensic genealogy, to crack the case, making it one of the oldest cases solved using these methods. Unfortunately, the killer, Kenneth Gould, died in 2007. Well, he's in hell.
Yeah, he's in hell.
The third one, death of baby Teresa, 2009, Wisconsin. In 2022, new developments in the 2009 quote-unquote baby Teresa case were revealed. A moniker given to the nameless newborn found by the side of a road. The body of quote-unquote baby Teresa was the moniker. She was found on June 5th, 2009, deceased and tied up in a garbage bag near Teresa, Wisconsin. DNA evidence identified baby Teresa's biological parents as Karen Luutinen and her boyfriend, who was not named in the case. Authorities found the parents through DNA technology. Forensic investigation showed that baby Teresa died during or soon after birth and was not murdered, but whose body was abandoned. In September of 2022, Karen Luutinen was sentenced to 3 years of probation after her guilty plea for concealing the death of a child. So, I mean, it's possible it was like, that goes back to the Wofford case, right? Yeah. Like, even if it's, you claim that it's stillborn, go to the fucking hospital, dude. Or, like, drop it off at a fire department, drop it off at, you know, these safe havens.
You don't even have to go that far. You just knock on a neighbor's door. Yeah. Anybody would help.
Well, true. Ridiculous. The fourth one, the murder of Nancy Marie Benelak, 1970 in California. For nearly 52 years, the cold case of Nancy Marie Benelak's murder had been a mystery. In October of 1970, the 28-year-old court reporter was brutally stabbed in her Sacramento apartment. Her family, friends, and even her then-fiancé, whom she was supposed to marry about a month later, had no answers for decades about who killed her. In August of 2022, investigators from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office and the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office identified Richard John Davis as Nancy's killer thanks to the advanced technology of DNA genealogy techniques, which have been used extensively to capture the Golden State Killer. Davis did die from complications of alcoholism in 1997 at the age of 54. The cold case was finally put to rest after more than 4 decades. That's crazy. Wow. Oh my gosh. Number 5, and the last one, murder and sexual assault of Jody Loomis, 1972, Washington State. The cold case of Jody Loomis had haunted families and police officers for 47 years until stunning development in 2019 when the Snohomish
Nailed it.
County Sheriff's Department identified the suspect. On August 23rd, 1972, when Jody Loomis's body was discovered lying by a dirt road with a gunshot wound above her right ear, DNA evidence was preserved on her body and boots. Years later, the evidence was submitted for genetic genealogy identification. It linked to 78-year-old Terrence Miller, who lived only 17 minutes from the crime scene where Jody had been murdered. This compelled officers to arrest and charge Miller with first-degree murder, Using DNA evidence, authorities could match Miller's genetic profile to the semen collected from Jody's boots. Don't come on the boots, man.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Miller took his own life just hours before he was convicted by a jury.
Okay.
So they all rotten in hell. I wanted to give you a little bit of different intro because I know you're going to talk all about BTK. We know Dennis Rader was found through DNA, and I wanted to give you some cases that you might not be as familiar with.
Yes, I didn't know any of those.
Me either. Yeah.
I think I heard of the Teresa one, though.
Oh, baby Teresa.
I think I saw it in like the news or the media when it was happening.
Well, obviously they named her Teresa because it was Teresa, Wisconsin. So.
Oh, the baby's name wasn't actually Teresa?
She never had a name. It was just baby Teresa
baby.
because they didn't know where she came from, and she was never named. But she's just known as baby Teresa because she was found in Teresa, Wisconsin.
Oh, God, you just broke my heart. All right, with all these freaking DNA, just these possibilities that we have, like, why isn't John Bonet's case solved? Like, why? There is absolutely no reason. I just hope that it gets solved before John dies.
In order to, like, you know, to get good DNA evidence, you have to have had an initial good crime scene, and they didn't. It was very contaminated. So, who knows?
It breaks my heart. All right, well, Kat, are you ready to talk about some BTK? Some Dennis Rader? Are you ready?
Find what you kill. That's what we're here for, baby. Let's roll with it.
It's icky. So, on October 22nd, 1974, a reporter named Don Granger received a mysterious phone call at the office of Wichita Eagle. The caller claimed that he had information of the Otero family murders. He stated, "There is a letter about the Otero case in a book in the public library." So mysterious. Granger called the police and they searched the library. They found a book titled Applied Engineering and Mechanics. Inside, they found a typed letter with a postscript from the murderer.
Which baffles me, okay, because you're talking about a public library with thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of books.
Yes.
And it didn't appear that he gave them any direction.
No.
But, like, would they look at, like, maybe the last books that were checked out? Or, like, I don't even know where they would start with that.
That is crazy.
And the amount of people they would have to say, look in every single book. Damn.
That's a needle in a haystack, literally.
The only thing I can think of is if, like, they started with, okay, the last, depending on when the notification or, like, this call came in to the time that the Otero murders happened, like, we're looking at this window, maybe. At least that'll narrow it down. Like, who checked out books between this and this? That's the only thing I can think of to, like, start.
It's 1974, so we don't have, like, computer access, so people assigning books in, and he could have easily changed his name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
They probably looked within, like, the last 30 days and then went from there. Well, the letter said, "It's hard to control myself. You'd probably call me psychotic with several perversions and hang up. Where this monster entered my brain, I'll never know, but it's here to stay. How does one cure himself? If you ask for help and told them that you killed 4 people, they'd laugh and hit the panic button and call the cops. I can't stop it, so the monster goes on and hurts me as well as society. It's a big, complicated game, my friend. The monster plays, putting victims' numbers down, following them, checking up on them, waiting in the dark, waiting. The pressure is great, and sometimes he runs the game to his liking. Maybe you can stop him. I can't. He has already chosen the next victim, or victims. Good luck hunting yours. Truly guilty," end quote.
Oh, jeez.
That's just chilling, I know. Besides that being just chilling to the bone, and also that he's promising that there's going to be more crimes and more murders.
Yeah, totally indicating that.
There was a postscript. P.S. Since sex crimes do not change their M.O., or by nature cannot do so, I will not change mine. The code words work for me. I will bind them, torture them, then kill them. BTK. Ooh. Gross. All right. Dennis Rader murdered 10 victims in Wichita, Kansas over a period of 2 decades from 1974 to 1991. He killed to satisfy his most disturbed sexual fantasies of tormenting helpless women. He also longed for attention, sending mocking letters to the press. Dennis Rader also maintained a double life as a loving family man, scoutmaster, and a church leader. None of his family and friends suspected him of being a sadistic killer.
Yes.
But who is Dennis?
Freak.
Where did he come from? Yeah. How did this happen? How did nobody see what was going on? Like, what went wrong along the way? We're going to dive into it.
Psychopaths, sociopaths, they can have, like, they can do it. They know how to own it. And even if they don't know that they're owning it, they know how to own it.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Dennis Rader was born on March 9th, 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and grew up in Wichita, Kansas. He was the oldest of 4 sons born to William Rader, a U.S. Marine who later worked in the electric utility company, and Dorothea May Cook Rader, a bookkeeper. Dennis had a normal childhood. However, he stated later, and I will be including like comments that he made about like situations that happened to him in the past, and I think it was for him to explain away certain things, but he did give some insight.
Was that from Jed's interviews with him?
No, but there was other people that did interview him. I'll just be sprinkling in some of his insights to what was going on in his life at this point. So he later stated that he had a nasty head injury after his mother dropped him on his head, and he was injured so bad, he turned blue.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't take him to a doctor.
Yeah. They're like,
he was 6 months old.
He's still breathing. He's fine.
He'll be fine.
I know. He bounced just fine.
Terrible.
He had enough elasticity.
Yes.
Oh.
Rader also stated that his mother fell off a horse when she was pregnant with him. He was alluding that he had multiple head injuries, and this is why he was the way he was. And it could be possible. Head injury does kind of align with this type of behavior.
Sure.
You know? He attended Riverwood Elementary School. Teachers said that he was withdrawn and quiet. He later stated that this was when he started seeing monsters all over, especially in lighted areas and dark corners and shadows. So this definitely makes me think that he had some type of injury. He could have been hallucinating, but in the reflective light of light and dark, whether it's a shadow or whether it was sun coming in, he was seeing these shapes and forms coming out, which could indicate that he did have some trauma to his brain.
Okay.
That's pretty scary if you're a kid and you're seeing these monsters pop up. However, he stated that he was aroused by the feelings of being hunted down by these monsters.
Ugh, that's not normal.
Icky.
Yeah.
He stated this is when he became attracted to his mother and became excited when she would punish him or spank him using a belt.
The Opodias theory.
The what?
Opodias theory? That's Freud. He's a little bit too old for that time frame, but basically when children fall in love with their parents, so as a female it would be the father, as a son it would be the mother, they would fall in love with them and then have this reaction to one, like for a son, he'd want to idolize his father, but then once he realized that he was in love with his mother, that he wanted to replace his father. But then it also came down to a psychological stance of the parents setting boundaries to say what you can and can't do. And so they're saying, Freud was saying this is from infancy.
It says here that it occurs before the age of 5. It's experience unconscious sexual desires for the opposite sex parent, jealousy or rivalry from the same sex parent.
Right.
That's warped, but it's interesting.
Yeah. I learned that in my literary theory course.
When he was 11 years old, he stalked his 5th grade teacher and started engaging in voyeuristic activities.
At 11?
At 11,
oh my
yeah.
gosh.
He was climbing up trees to kind of peep through her window at this time.
Okay, I think I remember actually hearing about this, but yeah, that I didn't realize he was that young. Yeah.
There was one time when he went to the tree where he brought rope because he was thinking that he should go into the house and tie her up because he was just aroused by people being restrained. And while he was in the tree, he stated that he didn't have the guts to do it. But while he was watching her, he ended up taking the rope, tying it around himself, like around his neck, And that's when he relieved himself or ejaculated.
Yeah. Autoeroticism.
Yeah. The next year, at age 12, Rader stated that he had a religious experience. He stated that during one service, he felt a Holy Spirit move on him. This enlightenment convinced him to become an active church member.
Okay.
Part of him wanted to be a good Christian, but part of him was growing increasingly excited by thoughts of strangulation and murder. He also started exhibiting more troublesome behaviors, such as killing animals. He began to strangle and torture cats and other small animals. This went totally unchecked and unnoticed by his family.
But did it, though?
Yeah.
But did it?
You know what? There were a lot of adults because during this time, he lived with his parents, his mother and his father.
Of course, yeah.
And he also lived next door to his grandparents.
Okay.
So there were a lot of adults in the room. It's like Dahmer. Like, how do you not see that? I don't know.
And being, I mean, honestly, if it was his parents and his grandparents, being how long it was until he was caught, they probably have been deceased. Otherwise, they may have said, in his childhood, this is what happened.
Right.
But they wouldn't have been around by the time he was arrested. So, just a thought.
No, they're alive.
They're still alive?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
We have an update on them at the end, but yeah, they're alive.
Oh, I was trying to give him justification. Never mind.
Oh, no. Don't give anybody justification. They're all guilty. Rader's knack for staying under the radar. He attributed his ability to compartmentalize, which he referred to as cubing.
Okay.
He later stated that I would do what I call cubing. It started in childhood as like a make-believe. Those white hat fantasies turned dark. They probably started before I can remember. I would cube into a storyteller for my brother, mostly at night. I cubed into a cowboy when we played. As I got darker fantasies, I cubed into a lone wolf. I spent endless time inventing my make-believe fort. As I grew up, the mental cubing was an escape from a boring class. I found time to daydream each day because I was at my best. It always recharged me. When I felt alone, my cubing made me feel better. It was easy to cube into the dark side. I wasn't hurting anybody, but only in my mind. So he had fantasies, dark fantasies of hurting everyone. But in his head, he called it cubing.
So you put it in like a little cube in like a little box,
Don't let it out.
A little Pandora's box.
Pandora's box.
Yes. He's a Pandora's cube.
Absolutely. Rader became increasingly obsessed with other serial killers. When he was 14, he found a magazine article about a serial killer named Harvey Glatman in his father's car. Harvey Murray Glatman was an American serial killer active during the late 1950s. He was known in the media as the Lonely Hearts Killer or the Glamour Girl Slayer. Maybe you should do that for one of your
Glamour girls.
Crime and Cosmetics.
And put that in my cube.
Put that in your cube.
Lock it up for later.
Rader couldn't take his eyes off of the photos of Harvey's bound female victims. I guess he did the same thing. He wanted to be just like Glatman, tying up female victims and killing them.
Well, I mean, in the 50s, there wasn't really a whole lot of censoring either.
Right.
If you think about it. Like,
right.
Because maybe by that time too, but like the lipstick killer, for instance.
Right.
The press was all over that crime scene. Like,
yeah.
In of the multiple ones, like, there was no, like, holding him back or, like, let's secure this crime scene. There wasn't a thing of cross-contamination. So the media also put out, like, actual, like, crime scene photos back then.
Right. So I just researched, during this time, there was a very famous model who is famous till today. Her name is Betty Page. And Betty Page was this bombshell, but she specialized in pictures of her getting bound or BDSM pictures, more kinky style. She was infamous, and unfortunately, she has a very hard life now because they didn't pay back then for that. So,
do we need to do a crime and cosmetics on her? Was she involved in anything?
Yes, she absolutely was. There is a crime around her, and you absolutely need to do Betty Page.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Page had paranoid schizophrenia at the age of 56 and stabbed her elderly landlords in the afternoon of April 19th, 1979 in an unprovoked attack in a fit of insanity. Okay. Done. Pandora's box, number 2. Pandora's cube.
In 1960, Rader started breaking into homes of female neighbors and stealing their stuff. He stole stockings and underwear and then used them to kind of satisfy himself in like this very ritualistic way.
It reminds me of the guy, of the voyeur that I was telling you when I was growing up, breaking into houses and stealing women's clothes.
Was that the one that was staring at you when you were a kid?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's
I was
creepy
11. Yeah.
He also began fantasizing about imprisoning women in secret barns and dungeons, and then torturing them and killing them. He had a special memory torture room devoted to pretty girls and social girls that he felt that he didn't have a chance with.
Okay.
He nicknamed these rooms the DTPG, Death to Pretty Girls.
Wow.
Rader graduated from Wichita Heights High School in 1963. He worked at Leaker's Family Food, where his mother also worked as a bookkeeper. He had a girlfriend at the time, and he was extremely active in the dating scene. Like, not only did he have like a girlfriend, but he was also this charismatic guy where he was dating multiple women on the side. He didn't have any trouble in that department.
Interesting.
He stated the dark side was not big for him at that time because he feels dating and being with women preoccupied him, and he was just too busy to focus on this self-deprecating thing that was going on inside of him.
He was enjoying reality and not fantasy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Rader's growing fascination with control and domination couldn't be fully suppressed, though. He would buy magazines of pretty girls, and then he would cut the models out, and then he would put them in his notebook, and then he would draw them being tied up or like a noose around a model's neck, or like, you know, he would draw in handcuffs and stuff like that. In 1965, he was 20 years old, and he enrolled in Kansas University, but dropped out a year later. He was not very good academically. He always struggled and always fell behind. He joined the U.S. Air Force in 1966, where he served for 4 years.
Yay.
Sorry, Kat. In 1970, after his discharge from the Air Force, Rader enrolled in Wichita State University. I honestly think that he was a psychopath. He was a narcissist. He thought he was the smartest person in the room. So I think that he really wanted to do well academically because he felt that he was smart. He never really succeeded, ever. Like, he never graduated from college. So he would attend these colleges, but he never graduated.
Yeah.
He also attended church again. His mother set him up with a church member, Paula Dietz. Paula was a bookkeeper. She worked for several employers. One of them was the Veterans Administration Hospital in Wichita, Kansas. During this time, Rader stated that he was so in love with Paula, he didn't have time to think about his dark side. The monster was happy. Paula found Rader to be a stable and respectable man.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, Paula.
Paula is probably in love like him, so she's smitten.
Yeah.
He must have been very good at hiding it.
Or, I mean, the cube could have been locked at this point in time.
It most definitely was. The monster was happy.
Yeah.
The couple married on May 22nd, 1971. Their marriage appeared normal to outsiders, and they settled into their new life in Park City, Kansas, where they had 2 children, Brian and Carrie. However, the monster inside of Dennis wouldn't be happy much longer. This is when Rader experienced a period of unemployment. From 1970 to 1973, he worked for an airplane manufacturer. This was during the energy crisis, also known as the energy crunch. So he ended up losing his job.
Right.
Being jobless made Rader feel frustrated and inadequate, which led to some psychological issues with his fantasies of control and power. He was mad.
The monster was unhappy.
Paula continued to work as a bookkeeper, and she supported the family at the time, which probably didn't do much for Rader's ego.
Yeah, of course. Not in the 70s.
No. Rader fell into a depression, and his dark fantasies of torture and murder started to creep back in. He even put together a toolkit with knives and other tools that he wanted to use on someone. He didn't know who yet, but he kept it in the car just in case a victim showed up, and he felt like he was prepared.
Like, this is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rader stated, "I was home alone, depressed, and mad at the world. I decided to go out and do something bad. With the loss of a job, my mind slipped into sex."
Natural. Right?
I don't know.
No? No? Okay.
So at this time, Rader had this crazy idea and he attempted to kidnap a bank teller. He stalked her comings and goings from the bank for weeks and then he was ready to act.
So he followed her routine.
But he attacked her in broad daylight at her car after leaving the bank. I know. And I don't think he realized that women can fight back because she fought back. Like, he ended up getting startled and he ran. He continued to use the same bank, go to the same teller, but he would wear like a hood or glasses so she wouldn't recognize him. But it was almost like a cat and mouse game where he got excited about walking up to somebody that he just terrorized.
Yeah, knowing what he just did or attempted to do. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a thrill for him to kind of be in plain sight. So Rader found employment in the ADT security systems. I have that. I actually have that. Where he worked for many years installing security systems. These homeowners would actually become later victims. The Rader family was very active in their community and attended Christ Lutheran Church. Rader became deeply involved in his church. He served as president of the church council. He was also a Cub Scout leader and a compliance officer in Park City. Okay, this is going to make you sick, like sick. A compliance officer is similar to being part of like a community watch.
Yep.
In this role, he was responsible for enforcing local ordinances, including animal control and other community regulations. This position gave him a sense of authority and control, and he relished in this. He loved it. Rader's job involved tasks like measuring the height of grass on people's lawns.
Making sure they fit that HOA.
Yeah. Issuing citations for code violations and ensuring that properties were up to standard. This literally sounds like a Florida HOA.
Right.
Seriously.
HOAs.
HOAs. This also allowed him to blend into the community, maintaining a guise of being a responsible and upstanding citizen. People looked at him as an authority figure, like, oh, Rader's here, like, just make sure everything's okay, gives us an A.
Compliance.
And also people that, like, knew of neighbors that weren't keeping up with their lawn, they were like, just send Rader that way.
Yeah.
He'll handle it.
Yeah.
They had confidence in him.
And I'm sure that was a level at some point of control for him.
He's being admired.
Yeah. Like, I have control of your grass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rader was also responsible for enforcing local animal control regulations. This included handling complaints about stray or problematic animals. One neighbor left her dog on the front lawn to get some fresh air and to run around.
Okay.
Harmless, right? He took the dog, he stole him.
Oh my gosh.
And he brought the dog to a shelter, a kill shelter, without telling her.
He just took the dog.
He just took the dog.
He's like, I'll teach her.
So after the neighbor searched for days to find her dog, he didn't tell her. He knew that he saw everything around. He was like, oh, she's looking for a dog. He never mentioned it to her. He waited and told her he knew where her dog was after the dog was euthanized. The kill shelter gave like a week before they euthanized animals. He waited the week. He was evil.
Jeez. Yeah.
Rader even once strangled neighbor's dog because he was barking too loud. Okay. As the wife, this is where my brain gets into like, no, I think I need to reboot my brain because I'm like, as a wife, how do you not know that?
Right.
When he told the lady that he brought the dog to the shelter, was he threatening? Was the lady afraid to tell other people what he did? Like, what happened? Because if that happened to me, I'd be screaming from the streets like what he did to my dog. But people seem to like not talk because there is no way as a wife who's so involved in the community didn't know that her husband was a scary person or that he didn't like animals. Like, how do you not know that?
Yeah.
His wife asked him to drive her one day to work because she didn't like driving in the snow, which is understandable. During the drive, Rader spotted a Latin American woman and her 11-year-old daughter. Rader decided that this child would be his PJ, or Project, a code name he gave for women and children that he planned to kill.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Did he number them? Like Project number what?
No, but he didn't even kill anybody yet, and he already has like a system in his brain of how to put them in order. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
The 11-year-old girl's name was Josephine Otero, nicknamed Josie. Josie loved her family. She had 3 older siblings and a younger one. Charlie, 15, Danny, 14, Carmen, 13, and her younger brother, Joey, 9. Josie's parents, Julie 34 and Joe 36. Joe worked as a flight instructor and Julie stayed home and took care of the family. Like this was a beautiful family.
Yeah.
They were originally from Puerto Rico. They were establishing themselves.
Right.
And I think because they didn't have roots here yet, they weren't stupid. Like they took serious precautions to protect their house. And one of those precautions is that they bought a dog, a protective dog named Lucky.
Oh, Lucky.
Yeah.
Aw. That was my first kitty cat's name was Lucky.
Lucky?
Yeah, a great little kitty cat.
Do you have a picture? You gotta post a picture.
I have a picture of me falling asleep in a beanbag with Lucky in my arms.
All right, post a picture. We need to see it.
I have to find it.
So they had no idea that they were being stalked by a serial killer. I mean, this is just...
Of course, yeah.
Raiders spent weeks memorizing their patterns, watching the Oteros come and go from their house. He targeted the 11-year-old girl, Josie, and her mother. Like, that was his focus. He planned that he was going to break in and torture them both to death. Raiders stated that one of the reasons he targeted the little girl was because her address ended in a 3.
Oh,
he had an obsession with 3s. He looked for 3s in everything he did. Rader stated, I'm partial to the number 3. I try to pick houses with the number 3 or the number 6. It relates to the Bible, he said. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The number 3 is mystical to me.
John 3:16.
Is that what?
So John 3:16 is one of the most popular Bible verses. Is
John 3:16. Now you got me thinking.
Yeah, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Whoever believeth in me should not perish but have everlasting life.
Wow. John 3:16 refers to a famous verse from the Bible, specifically from the New Testament in the Gospel of John. Oh, wow.
That's what I get. I mean, John 3:16 is the first thing that came to my mind when you're talking about like the 3s and the 6s.
Wow. It makes me feel ickier. I don't know.
Since he's such a Christian.
Yeah. With his kit, he added window blinds, duct tape, a buck knife, and a .22 Colt pistol.
Window blinds? Like
the cord, you know, the window
the
blind
string
cord.
From the blinds. Oh.
He was ready.
He had his kit. He was kitted up.
On January 15th, 1974, Rader wore a hooded Air Force jacket and drove to Otero's home. He parked his Impala a few blocks away and then walked to the house. By his calculations, at 8:20 a.m., Joe was at work already and the older children were at school, leaving Julie, Josie, and Joey at home. But Joe had a car accident recently, like a week ago, and his car was in the shop, so his car wasn't even at home. So it looked like he wasn't home. And then also he was recovering from a couple of broken ribs. So he was home. He was in bed recovering.
I do remember this part of the story, like that Rader thought the dad was not there, but the dad was there.
Yeah. Unaware of this, Rader jumped over the fence, caught the phone lines, and started making his way to the back door. Then he noticed something that he didn't account for. Lucky.
Oh, Lucky. You lucky bastard.
Remember, it was snowing, so he saw, like, Lucky's footprints in the backyard.
Yeah.
So Rader totally missed the fact that they owned a dog. This is kind of like a big mistake. Like, if you're stalking them and you're obsessed with these people, you would know if they had an animal. I don't know.
I mean, if you're sitting outside the house doing surveillance, just like watching him or whatever, the dog's got to bark at some point in time.
Right.
I mean, like,
I'm going to have a picture of Lucky on the Patreon. He was debating, like, what to do next when he noticed these footprints in the snow. He was like, okay, should I continue with the plan? As he was thinking this, the back door opened, and it was 9-year-old Joey looking at him. And standing next to Joey was Lucky. Lucky started to bark. Rader took his gun, pointed it at Joey, and forced this 9-year-old kid back into the house with the dog. Now, the dog didn't attack. It was probably a very friendly dog, but he was barking. He was kind of like notifying something is wrong. Not every dog is going to attack.
Yeah. Biscuit would attack. I hope he would attack. I hope he's more bark than bite.
So now he forced Joey back into the kitchen where Julie and Josie were. Josie saw this guy and she immediately started to cry. She was scared. And Rader was pointing the gun into Julie's face at this point. Julie did scream and say, who are you? What's going on? And Joe did hear this from his bedroom where he was resting. I mean, you know when your family's in
Of
distress.
course, yeah.
He came out of the bed. He ran down to the kitchen. He was like, what's going on? And Raider showed Joe the gun and was like, listen, if you cooperate, I'm just going to take what I need and leave. I'm just a criminal who just need food and a getaway car. This is what he told Joe.
Okay.
Not to mention that Joe was also from the Air Force. So they had this commonality because remember, he was wearing his Air Force hoodie. So I think he's trying to see or gauge this intruder or how dangerous he is. He just felt that all he needs to do is tell his family to comply and that he's going to go and we're going to be okay. And not to mention, Joe is in a lot of pain because he had broken ribs. And that's like the worst pain in the world.
Yeah.
So at this point, Dennis ordered them to put the dog outside. They did. He took the family into the parents' bedroom and then he tied them up with duct tape. The whole time he was telling them, listen, this is just because I want to take your stuff and take your car and leave. He also gagged them. Rader decided to murder Joe by strangulation. Then he beat Julie. He placed a pillowcase over her head and then strangled her as well. Next, he choked 11-year-old Josie until she fell unconscious. So, like, Josie was his prime target in this murder. He didn't want to kill her just yet, but he definitely wanted her to stop crying. So he kind of strangled her to a point where she passed out.
Okay.
Joey, the youngest, was sobbing. Raider put a plastic bag over the 9-year-old boy's head, and while he was gasping for air, he dragged the boy from the parents' room into his bedroom, put him on a chair, and took a cord and just tightened it around the child's neck where the child couldn't breathe, and he killed him. Now, there is a statement here where the detective said, although Rader said this wasn't true, but like the detective's like, yeah, no, it's true. In the rug, there was a pattern of another chair right in front of the chair where the kid died, the same legs imprint of the kitchen chair. So they were saying that Rader took another kitchen chair, put it in the kid's room, sat down, and watched the life leave the child.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
I could see that too.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Rader didn't give them that. He gave them everything else, but not that.
Yeah.
With everyone out of his way, Rader was able to take his time with the 11-year-old Josie. He dragged Josie down to the basement. He hung her on a sewer pipe as she was slowly suffocating. It was strangling her. She was slowly dying. This wasn't a fast death. Josie was tortured. While she was gasping for air, he sexually assaulted her and ejaculated on her leg. It had taken less than 2 hours for Rader to murder all 4 family members. He cleaned up the crime scene. He turned up the heat in the house, convinced that this would obscure the time of death for the police. Then he took the Otera's car and drove it to a nearby grocery store to make it appear that it was abandoned. He walked back to his car from the grocery store, and then he drove home, and he settled right back into his normal morning routine. This was in the morning.
Yeah. I was going to say it was like 8 something in the morning, right? When he first...
8:20.
Yeah.
His wife had no idea that her church-going husband had just murdered 4 people. Oh, God. I am so not that wife. I assume everybody's guilty. It wasn't long after this. He needed another fix. Like, he had an itch to get another victim.
Because he liked how it felt.
You know, it's interesting here because in the book with John Douglas, John said that they should have also added pedophile to him and that they didn't. He's cross about that. Pedophile should have been part of his diagnosis because of what he did to Josie, but they didn't do that.
And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with his initial, like being of the adolescent age of his initial fantasies.
That he was so young when this all started.
And then Josie was, what, 11?
Yeah.
That would have been around the same age that he initially started. So I don't know if that would have had anything to do with it. I don't know. BSU, holler at us.
Well, BSU thought it was of a predator pedophile.
Right.
Well, I'll get into it. Of course, John Douglas is right. We're never going to challenge John Douglas. So, Jed. It wasn't long after this that he needed to find somebody else to victimize. Sometime in February, Rader was taking his wife to lunch when he spotted a young blonde woman.
In that same year?
Yes.
Because that was January. Okay. So, like...
Yeah, January 1974 is when he committed the murder. So this is like February, March. So like a month, maybe 2 months.
Okay.
Her name, Catherine Bright.
Oh.
She was born April 4th, 1955 in Wichita, Kansas. She was known for her friendly and outgoing nature. She was attending Wichita State University pursuing her education. The way he describes it is that she captivated him. He was obsessed with her. And then he immediately started doing his routine. He started stalking her, watching her. And for somebody so focused on stalking, I'll be honest with you, he made some major mistakes. Just like he made major mistakes with Dad and the dog, he continues making mistakes. So he's a dumbass also. On April 4th, 1974, Dennis Rader broke into Catherine's home while she was out. He waited inside for her to return. He hid inside her closet in the dark to ensure that he had the element of surprise. The monster literally is in your closet.
Yes.
Under your bed, in your closet, like it's there. Like that's Dennis Rader level of freaking spooky.
I keep thinking of Monsters, Inc. at this time.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
But when Catherine returned home, she wasn't alone. She was with her brother Kevin, who was visiting.
And Dennis couldn't have foreseen that.
The Rader was not planning for Kevin's presence.
Yes.
But Dennis was able to tie them both up at gunpoint. Kevin, however, managed to break free, and he did fight with Rader to get him out of the house and free his sister, but Dennis turned the gun to Kevin and shot him twice in the head. With Kevin out of the way, Rader was focused on Catherine. He bound her and attempted to strangle her with a rope. However, she fought back fiercely, just like her brother.
Good girl.
Yeah, resulting in a prolonged, brutal struggle. Rader ultimately stabbed Catherine multiple times, causing fatal injuries. Despite being shot, Kevin survived.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
He ended up coming to, but this was after the sister was dead.
Yeah.
And Dennis was gone.
Yeah.
The survivor's guilt must be...
Gosh, for real.
I don't even want to think about it. Wow.
Yeah.
Rader's killing spree continued with 8 more murders over the next few decades. Well, we know of 10 known victims, and he did ante up for all 10. He killed them all by using his methods of bind, torture, and killing. And here are some other victims that we know of. I didn't want to get into all the victims because it would be, like I said, like a 2-3-parter.
Yeah.
One of his victims, Shirley Venan, he killed on March 17, 1977. She was a mother of 3, and she was strangled in her home. Next one was Nancy Fox, murdered on December 8th, 1977. Rader strangled her and later called the police to report the crime. Next one is Maureen Hedge. She died April 27th, 1985. She was a neighbor. A neighbor.
Brazen. Like I said, brazen.
He's doing it closer to home. And once again, hey, wifey, get a fucking clue.
Yeah.
She was taken from her home, strangled, and then dumped in a remote location.
That's interesting because that's kind of out of his MO, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if there was something.
Probably because it was home.
Maybe he was trying a new thing.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe she's the girl with the dog. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ugh. Next one, Vicky Wegerle. She died September 16th, 1986. She was strangled in her home. Her death went unsolved until Rader's capture. And the 10th victim was Dolores Davis, January 19th, 1991. Abducted from her home and strangled. During that time, Rader's arrogance technically led to his downfall because in 2004, he resumed communication with the media and the police after years of silence. He was like the Zodiac killer. Nobody knew what the hell happened and nobody assumed that it was him.
Right.
He led to his own demise by coming back out of the shadows, longing for some type of attention because
he's missing it. Like, he's like, I need my, accolades or whatever.
Right. And you know what he didn't bank on? The one thing he didn't take into consideration, like the dog, like Kevin, he didn't take into consideration that John Douglas would be on the case.
Of course. Jed.
Mic drop. He would send taunting letters and evidence, even a computer disk to the authorities. Like,
we can't recover a computer. Like, we don't know. No, send us a disc. Yeah, man. We can't recover anything from that.
No one's saying that he's not the most evil person. Yes, he is. He is so evil. But at the same time, he truly is not like a mastermind. He is not like...
He's not IQ level.
Right. He's not an Ed Kemper.
Or, Ted Bundy. Like...
Right.
Yeah.
The forensic analysis of the disc is what led to his arrest on February 25th, 2005. When they had him in custody, he recounted his crimes, showing no remorse. Rader was revealed to be the notorious BTK killer. He was taken into custody and charged for 10 counts of first-degree murder. Rader's initial court appearance took place on March 1st, 2005, where he was formally charged. He appeared calm and composed, a stark contrast to the gruesome nature of his crimes. The prosecution's case was built on the mountain of evidence, including Rader's own communication, DNA evidence, and items taken from the crime scene. So this man took trophies. Yeah. And in his garage, he had a box of trophies from everybody that he killed. And it could be earrings, it could be necklace, it could be anything.
One of my favorite cases I ever did of a very high-ranking member in the United States Air Force.
Oh, boy.
He had a trophy box in his garage. It's a thing.
Who used to visit the crime scene when they were discovering it? Was it Ted Bundy who would go back to the crime scene, or the Zodiac? Like, one of them would go back to the crime scene to see
Probably both.
Yeah, they wanted to see people curious and enamored by what had happened.
Oh, yeah. It boosts their ego to another level.
It does, yeah. On June 27th, 2005, Rader shocked the courtroom and publicly pled guilty to all 10 murders. During his confession, Rader described each murder in chilling detail, revealing his planning, his need for control, and the pleasure he got inflicting suffering to each of these victims. On August 18, 2005, Dennis Rader was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms with a minimum of 175 years without the possibility of parole. That's a long-ass time.
Sorry.
And you know what? Fortunately, I don't know how people fall on this, but Kansas didn't have the death penalty. Although, like, somebody like BTK is like one of those people that really super deserves the death penalty. But for the rest of his life, we need to take care of him. It's a whole different other conversation.
Well, I mean, mentally, let him suffer.
It's true.
If he's in, like, isolation, right, in the isolation cell for like 23 hours of the day.
Right.
Which I know it takes a certain criminal or a certain level of offenses to kind of get to like that point. But if that's a thing, I mean, that's pretty torturous. Think about all the things you've done. But if it's somebody who has zero remorse for anything that they've done, I mean, it's only reliving the pleasures of the past.
Right. I think that a lot of criminals that are already in there do not take kindly to child molesters.
That's true, too.
On top of him serving like multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole, so he was in the El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas, but like I don't know how ruthless that one is. I want the most ruthless one for him.
Yeah. Sing, baby.
The sentencing hearing was an emotional event. The family members of the victims gave a powerful impact statement, and once again, he was poker face like nothing. Judge Gregory Waller presided over the sentencing. In his closing statement, he emphasized that Rader would spend the rest of his life in prison, unable to harm anyone else. The families of the Rader victims expressed a mix of relief and sorrow. While they were grateful for the closure and the conviction, just knowing his confession of the way he killed their loved ones and his crimes.
Something that you don't want to hear or see in a court proceeding in any family of a victim.
Right.
And that is like, they're going to relive what their loved one went through at the time. And that's torturous.
Terrible. The one thing that they said that was super traumatizing was the fact that he had no remorse. Nothing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Paula Dietz, Rader's wife, was utterly blindsided by the revelation that her husband was the BTK killer. They had been married for over 30 years, and she had never suspected the man that she shared a life with was capable of such heinous acts. Her reaction was a mix of shock, disbelief, and profound just betrayal. Okay? Denial.
There's no way. Yeah. It cannot be him.
No.
I know my husband.
Those people worry me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Paula immediately filed for an emergency divorce.
Okay, good girl. Okay.
Which she was granted on July 26, 2005, just 5 months after his arrest. She also changed her name, and then she went into hiding to escape the intense media scrutiny and public outrage. I don't blame her.
No.
Nobody wants want to be affiliated with this. I'm shocked that Ted Bundy's wife is still who she is. Like, why didn't she go out in hiding?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So William and Dorothea, the parents of Dennis, were elderly and still living when Dennis was arrested.
Dennis was raided.
Raided.
When Dennis was raided. He should have been raided.
Oh my God. Okay. The news of their son's arrest and the nature of his crimes were a profound shock to them. They struggled to reconcile with the image of their son and the monstrous acts that he committed.
I mean, in his own words, though, like...
Yeah, no, he was testifying. He was testifying.
Yeah. Testify!
He went into major detail of every single murder, and that must have been hard to hear as an investigator. Like, that must have been hard to hear with anybody sitting in that room.
I mean, and I don't, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, my kids are fine. Like, but if there's like a secret life, I would be devastated because I, as a mother, would not have ever seen that coming.
Yeah.
Carrie,
his daughter, was deeply affected by the revelation that her father was the BTK killer. She always seen him as a loving dad, a caring father, and the news of this, like, of course it shattered her world. I mean, it's her dad.
Daddy's girl,
Carrie eventually wrote a memoir titled A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. She published this in 2019.
Oh, recent.
She goes into details of her journey and coming to the terms with her father's actions, her struggles with PTSD, and her path to healing and forgiveness.
Not to discount whatever PTSD effects that she has had, but what does she have? Other than her father going through this, and I do understand that, like, you don't have to necessarily be involved in a traumatic event to receive post-traumatic stress from said event. I mean, and maybe that's it, but maybe because she knows of all the things that her father did and how traumatic that was, that could have an effect on her.
Maybe it was like some type of survivor's guilt, where she felt like, how can he do this to so many people? Being so close to a man that would do that, like, maybe she felt guilty. All the emotions that the wife should have been feeling.
Sure.
God forbid, say in Bizarro World, you're married to Ted Bundy. I'm married to Dennis Rader, okay?
My husband's more handsome.
Right.
I'm just saying.
It's true. It's true. Mine's not even smart. Okay. First of all, I think we are aware enough to know when somebody is shady, number one. Number two, if this happened and you were made aware of it, I don't know what I would do. How did I miss something so horrible?
Sure.
How did I miss it? That would definitely destroy me in some ways, where I'm like, I'm a terrible person. Like, that would definitely do something like that to me.
I get that, yeah.
I don't know if you can title it PTSD, but there's some type of survivor guilt there, I think.
Yeah.
Carrie also became an advocate for crime victims and mental health awareness, so she definitely got active. Yes. So thank you, Carrie. Brian, Dennis Rader's son, he was in the Navy at the time when his father was arrested. Like his sister, he was stunned and horrified. I think that's it. I think they were horrified at the fact that their father did this. Brian chose to remain totally private and anonymous. He didn't want any of the publicity, but he was dealing with the trauma in a more private way. He has not spoken about this. Like, we don't know who Brian... Like, I couldn't find anything on Brian.
I wonder if he's changed his name, too.
He might have. Like his mom. Yeah. He might have.
Yeah. I would.
I absolutely would. The BTK killer story is one of true crime's most chilling chapters. For over 3 decades, he hid in plain sight, living as an unassuming family man and community leader while committing horrific murders. His arrest shattered the illusion of safety, revealing a methodical monster with no remorse, a predator who thrived on terror. The capture of the BTK killer brought a sense of justice, but the haunting memories of his crimes lingered.
Of course.
His story serves as a grim reminder that true evil can hide behind the most ordinary masks. So, John Douglas and the FBI Behavioral Science Unit, BSU, became involved in the BTK case during the early 80s. While Douglas was not on the case from its inception, so when it started, Douglas was not there, but he later got on the team to kind of profile this guy. His team provided important profile insights. Like John Douglas and his colleagues analyzed the crime scene, the evidence, the communications from the killer, and they developed a profile that described one, the characteristics, two, the behaviors, and the backgrounds that they felt BTK was. So they literally said, like, he's a pillar of his community. He's a white guy between these ages. So now, here's a quote from John Douglas regarding Dennis Rader. There are monsters among us. People not like us. Some people will lie, cheat, steal, and kill. Others will just watch it happen. The worst part of this is when those people are someone we know, someone we trust, someone we think we know. Ugh.
Yes. That's why he is John Douglas.
3 movies that you need to watch. BTK in Hollywood.
Okay.
I always got to finish it off this way. Just lighten it up. We got to lighten up the mood. Okay, so 1, The Hunt for the BTK Killer, which was in 2005. Did you watch this?
Maybe. I've seen several. Yeah, I'd have to look and see if it was the right one.
This is a pretty, standard one. It's pretty popular. It's a TV movie. You know, you see it on TV.
Oh, yeah.
The next one is BTK, which was in 2008. This focuses on the killer's double life and his heinous acts. The last one, which I need to watch, I haven't watched, but I've heard so many good things about it, which is A Good Marriage in 2014. It's a Stephen King novel. This is a thriller that isn't a direct retelling of Rader's story, but is inspired by his double life. It stars Joan Allen.
Yes.
And tells the story of a woman who discovers her husband's darkest secrets.
There's a lot of familiar faces in this cast that I'm looking at. Yes. Anthony LaPaglia, you said Joan Allen, Stephen Lang,
right.
Kristen O'Connelly, Mike O'Malley.
Maybe I'll watch it tonight. Kat, that's my story, my take on the BTK killer. We just talked about the BTK killer.
We did? Did we?
We did. We did. We did it. We did it. And it's not making me feel any better. In fact, I feel like I need to take a shower.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty.
Yeah.
You know what, though? It's been like 20 years since he was arrested. It seems like it was not that long ago.
I know.
Because I remember when he was arrested. It just makes me seem older. That's crazy. I knew a lot of kind of little things here about the BTK, but you really did a great job in
I hope so.
Pandora's Cube.
The cubing. The cubing.
The cubing.
What the fuck is that? So that's my story, Kat. I hope you enjoyed it.
I mean, as much as I enjoy drinking glass shavings.
It's great.
It's great. I love it.
Well, because we don't leave you hanging on this chatters, for more information on this case, please check out After That Crime Chat, only available on Patreon.
Yes, don't forget to follow us, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat, on all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that. You know all the things.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Remember, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat, when you become a VIP chatter to our Patreon, you'll have access to bonus episodes, behind the scenes, silly bloopers, and free merch. And check out some merch in the works.
And, okay, we're recording this before our live, so if you did not watch our live, go back, watch it. We're going to also extract the audio and put that on all of our podcasts.
Yes. Do not want to miss it.
Oh, yes.
Not to mention, there's a couple in the pipeline that is crazy, like Shark Week.
Yeah, so Shark Week is about to happen as we're recording this. So our next episode is actually going to be on the shark arm case in honor of Shark Week, which is one of my faves. If you know me, you know me. I've got shark sandals. I've got a shark mug. My dog has a shark toy.
Yes, you don't want to miss it.
Bye.